Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining me. It's 10:14, and I promise I'm not Martin Sheen. Um, and Charles, no, I'm not Charles Sheen either, but I'm Johnny. And I want to talk tonight about JFK, and I want to talk about the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction of 1961 and the significant influence it had on his life, along with four other people. When I look at the star of 1961, it's at 25 degrees Capricorn. Now, when we notice that, this star will actually place very significantly and trigger planetary activity in all the four charts I will discuss with you tonight. But first, let's just go over here and then pull up the writing that they have here. If I could just scroll the browser open. Okay, here we go. Scroll the browser up here. Here at the history website, history.com. That must be a really cool domain, don't you think? Here we go. Not to get too distracted here. This day in history, November 22nd, 1963, President John F. Kennedy is assassinated. Texas Governor John Connally is seriously wounded in a 10-mile motorcade through the streets of downtown Dallas. His wife is sitting next to him, but she's not injured. He was 46, and just a couple hours later, Lyndon Johnson becomes the 36th president of the United States at 2:39 p.m. I guess he wasn't even planning that one, eh? And then Lee Harvey Oswald will go down in history as well. He allegedly fired 3 shots. Only 3. Okay, so here we're going to go here. We're going to look at this really quick here. I'm not going to rush through it, but we're going to be prudent and exact to the point of how it went down. So, here's the star right here at 25 degrees, Capricorn, which is a Saturn-ruled sign. Lee Harvey Oswald will basically feel the influence by the star in several methods here. First off, his moon is in Capricorn at 13 degrees. So when you look at Capricorn, the star would be right next to his moon. And remember, Saturn is like a partner to the moon because Saturn rules Capricorn, where the moon rules Cancer, and that's where we find Lee Harvey's mortal moon, his frame of mind. Now, when we move to the next individual, JFK himself, we look at Capricorn, and the star is in his 4th house of Cancer. And it's just past the North Node. It's a very interesting chart to look at, and the star will basically make aspects to Jupiter, Mercury, which is, and then the Sun as well. We will then look at Lyndon Baines Johnson and see that the star is going to be very close to his Uranus in Capricorn at 13 degrees. And it will make a slight aspect, a very soft aspect to Jupiter in Leo. Not too strong of an aspect, but will also be a soft aspect to Pluto in Gemini, and then it'll make an opposition to his Saturn, or not Saturn, but his Venus in Cancer, and it'll be across his north. It'll be across. No, that's actually the transit that I have for when he becomes president, which is also another chart to discuss very shortly. Okay, we're going to scroll again. Now we're going to look at the Declaration of Independence. This is one we can't forget because the star has an influence on the USA every time it forms as well. And that's why these significant events always happen every 20 years. It's not the reason why, but there's a reason why the star has been influencing the USA in this much power over the last 60, almost 70 years. 2021 to 1941, you can do the math. There's almost 80 years there. So what we have here is the star would be opposed the US's Mercury perfectly, and then we have the star forming right on the US's Pluto in retrograde. It will also be trine the US's Neptune. It's a very significant star. So let's get right to it and show you even further how the star evolves over the course of the year, and go directly to the JFK assassination chart with the synastry of the moment on the outside. So when you look at this chart here, we have to think about what we've been talking about in these past couple episodes, especially the last one, where I really talked about the battle of the light and the dark here on the face of the earth. Darkness and then enlightenment. And when we are alive, we are enlightened from the inside. We have consciousness. And what allows this consciousness to be? We can't do it without the Father. So I cannot even believe how beautiful this chart has been selected for when the lights leave, when the light actually leaves JFK. So here we have the transiting sun of this moment is at 29 degrees Scorpio. And his sun is at 28 degrees Taurus. It's a perfect opposition. The Father's light is opposed JFK right here. I can't even think of it. This would be the time. And then we have the moon, the transit moon, transiting his fourth house of Aquarius. And then we have the Saturn right here. Saturn on the transit is 17 degrees Aquarius. This is where the Saturn is for the assassination. The Saturn is at 7 degrees. Not 7 degrees, sorry, my fault. Saturn is at 17 degrees. It's in the 12th house of the actual chart of the assassination, the event chart. But the moon, as I said before, and then we have, Saturn right here is going to be at 17 degrees, with natal Saturn being at 26 degrees, right? And then we have Jupiter in retrograde motion. Jupiter is going to be at 9 degrees Aries, and it is going to be making aspects to his Mars. And we can see it there. It's just as clear as day, right? But we can see the Mars here, over here. We can see the transit of these other planets in front of the sun. We have Neptune over here. Neptune's at 15 degrees, and that's going to be opposed JFK's moon. And it's also going to be opposed his Mars and his Jupiter. And then we have the Mercury, which will be at 9 degrees Sagittarius. 9 degrees Sagittarius would be trine Neptune, his Saturn. But going forward here, even more so, is when Lyndon Baines Johnson becomes the president, the new president, the 36th president of the United States. Now look at this. I want to show this to you really quick here. Look at Jupiter here. Jupiter is at, transit Jupiter is at 9 degrees Aries. His Saturn is 9 degrees Aries. Is that perfect or what? Yeah. I mean, look what Jupiter just gave Lyndon B. Johnson. It goes right over his Saturn, and as anyone knows, Saturn is the planet of career, and it's in his 8th house of legacy, and it's a Aries, it's an Aries, it's an Aries house as well, which is quite amazing because we have the 8th house being the natural ruler of Scorpio. The Scorpio is the natural ruler of the 8th house, so you have Pluto and Mars all sitting there with Jupiter basically rewarding President Johnson, his 30s, being to be this 36th president of the United States. You got to wonder if the guy had any idea he was going to be the 36th president that day, right? No. And then we have to look at the other planets too. There's other key planets here as well. The chart is right here. You can see this. I will move to the assassination now again. Here's Lee Harvey Oswald. And now we look at the assassination. First off, when we look at Lee Harvey Oswald, we should actually look at how his chart lines up with the U.S. independence chart, the basically the event chart of the USA becoming a new country, right? So when we look at the United States Declaration of Independence, the sun is at 13 degrees Cancer, okay? Most important planet of the chart. And when we look at Lee Harvey Oswald, his moon is at 13 degrees Capricorn, which is perfectly opposite the sun. The other details are here, but I want to make this quick and show you how enlightening this actually is, how much these charts fit together, just like the charts I've showed you so far with the other presidents. U.S. independence, for the actual JFK assassination moment, we could see this. Now, look at the chart. Look at the, this is the chart of the USA Declaration of Independence on its own, by itself. Now, look at the synastry. Watch how this changes. Is that amazing? I'm going to flip that up again, go backwards, and then again. See how it opens up? Watch how it opens up. Now look at Neptune, and then you can see the squares happening right here. We have Uranus square, we got Neptune square, but we can see this right here. We can see the squares there, but then we also see on this day, we see Venus and Mars opposed the U.S. chart. The other thing I noticed is that with this chart is you're gonna really be blown away with this one, is that the ascendant for the U.S. is 12 degrees 21 minutes, Sagittarius, okay? Now, let's look at the assassination chart. Show this to you. Where is this at? Okay, basically, JFK, he has an ascendant of 12 degrees Libra. Jupiter, Saturn is at 3 degrees Virgo on the ascent of the U.S. And then we have Lee Harvey Oswald with being a Cancer ascent at 8 degrees. And here's the ascendant for the assassinate temp is being at 12 degrees Libra. No, that's, wait a minute, sorry. I'm not seeing it. It's not there. I'm going to have to move to the next one. So here we are again. This is 12 degrees Sagittarius on the U.S. chart. And then on this one right here, 12 degrees Sagittarius on the ascendant of the U.S. chart. And then, but most importantly, what you got to look here is that the moon is at 11 degrees Aquarius, opposed the U.S.'s incarnation at 6 degrees Leo. And then on top of that, we have Uranus, the transit of, here we go, Jupiter. Jupiter is at 9 degrees Aries, which is going to be square the U.S.'s Venus, Jupiter, and Sun. It's pretty amazing. And then on top of that, as I said before, the Star of Bethlehem is actually occurs directly opposite the Mercury of the U.S. chart. But then we have the moon in the second house here. The moon is at 27 degrees Aquarius, which is making aspects to the Neptune as well. It's a light aspect. But it's quite fascinating chart, especially seeing how all the individuals piece together with this chart. And most importantly, as I said before, when I looked at Lee Harvey Oswald's chart, his sun is at 24 degrees Libra, with his node there as well. But with his moon being there, opposed the U.S.'s chart at perfectly at 13 degrees, it shows his mindset is opposed to U.S., right? It's pretty amazing. But look, I wanted to share these charts with you and show you how we have two other charts involved and how everything is just fits together just perfectly like a puzzle. Also, I wanted to also show here that I didn't actually I almost forgot this. I'm really sorry. One thing I noticed when looking at these charts, because right off the bat, you look at some charts and then you say, oh, let's look at the bad guy, right? Let's look at Lee Harvey Oswald. But when I started looking at Lyndon's chart and I started seeing where his planets actually sitting, his actual planets are sitting right here. Most importantly, his sun and his moon and his Mercury, okay? Sun's at 3 degrees Virgo. This moon is at 9 degrees Virgo, and then you have his Mercury as well. But then you have Jupiter over here at 26 degrees Leo. And the reason why I looked at this is because I said, well, let's look at how the relationship would be with the president himself. So when we look at the JFK, and this is where it all started queuing in with me. JFK's got a moon at 11, or Mars at 11 degrees, a moon at 13 degrees, which actually squares the U.S.'s. His moon actually squares the U.S.'s. No, it's not. It's actually sextile the U.S.'s sun. But then we have Jupiter at 20 degrees and then Mercury at 23 degrees. Now look back again at Lyndon's chart. We have Mars starting off the plate. So got 3, 9, and 10. And then back at JFK, his Mars. His Mars is right there, 11 degrees. So his Mars would be, his Mars is his daily work, right? His Mars would be squared, but all those other planets roll into there. And I thought that was quite curious how even that shows up quite close in the charts. And then his Uranus has actually 13 degrees Capricorn as well, which when you go to JFK's chart, 13 degrees Capricorn, that would sit trine with his moon and JFK's Mars. So you can look at that working relationship and see how the two charts fit together. But look, I really appreciate you sharing this with me tonight and taking the time to listen to my observations of the heavenly events here on Earth. Thank you very much, and all the best from Caroline Productions. See you next time.